All right, here we are. We made sure the throttle cable works. We made sure the brakes work again. We have the bolts holding the carrier onto the body. So what do we got left? Really, we just need to put it back together. But there is the remote start, this additional patch for the remote start pieces. I want to figure out a good place to put that. In addition to that, the junction blocks we need to put them together, and we need to test that this wiring harness actually works before we put the whole dash back together. So to do that, I have all the dashboard components right here. Now I have body control, the dash, gauges, the multifunction switch, and the light control I've taken from the donor car. Now I'm doing that because I am suspicious of body control and some of the switches. They may have gotten burned out by the short in the old main wiring harness. So to make sure this works, I'm going to plug all this in. I'm going to see if all the lights work, and I'm going to see if the car starts. This green and white is the dash. This is the radio and radio interface. Got extra mount from the donor. Now, when I took this apart, the ignition and power had a strap that was strapped in down here in this grounding screw, and then this grounding strap that comes with diagnostics and HVAC was also right here. And that guy was right there. I left that mount in there. So let's get those straps in there to make sure that we have grounding so that all circuits can complete. Before we plug anything else in, let's get the junction blocks put together. This junction block mounts on the passenger aluminum carrier. So we'll just get the block together. This junction block mounts here. So let's make sure we're not catching anything between the blocks. We'll join it together and I'm going to mount it. There's a little claw foot in the bottom, and then these two bolts on top, that's what holds it in. Okay. The white switch is the four-way switch. And then the dash faces this green. So this is body control to the donor. Body control lays in the aluminum carrier like this. So let's try to plug it in that way. Okay, the trunk plug is already there. This is parking marker lights, dome light, and headlights. This is the ambient light sensor. I want to see if that's working with this body control module. I hope so. We also have a multi-function switch. Multifunction has a lever for attachment. So make sure it's back, and then you plug it together, and if you've done this correctly, you plug it together, the lever will start to come forward, and then you just pull it the rest of the way, just a little bit further, and that keeps it all locked together.
So you may recall you need to put it to on, and then there's the pin on the bottom that will allow this to come out after you push this pin. We're doing that because in addition to power and ignition, we also need to punch in GM Pass Lock 2. If we don't attach GM Pass Lock 2, the car won't start. Now we're all the way in there. The key should come out. Should be able to see the pin again. That's a good way to know if you're plugged back in. Okay, for the sake of completeness, we're going to plug shift release back in. As well as power and ignition. This connector is a light for the ashtray and a power port and a cigarette lighter. I'm not going to worry about that guy. What I do want to connect, because it's important for environmental control, is the airbox coupler. I want to join it back because the airbox power connector is here, and control actually comes from the airbox harness. And do radio connector.